Good morning, everybody. I am Mike TheZorch. I'm a fluffy guy. I need to unfluffy. And so that's what this video is all about. What this whole live stream series is all about is me exercising to get better physically, mentally. That's my message. Every live stream I talk about mental health because I have depression and I do this up to manage it. It's not something you can get rid of. It's not something that's curable at the moment, but there's drugs for it, but you really don't want to take those because those are really bad for you. And if you look at the side effects list, you really don't want to take that stuff. So the best way to deal with it is to not hold it in, talk to people, and get good exercise, change your diet, everything. That's the message I have at the end of every video. So I'll talk about that a little more. So today I've got my bike set up. I'm going to bring up the chat window so I can see. Comes into the live stream. I get more people on Mixer than anywhere else, usually from Europe. You guys are really great people too. Also, I usually get more people on a Friday, so let's see who shows up. Alright. And I'll go for like 30 minutes on my bike, and then I'll do my weights at the end. Get my arms going, because of my depression, I really let myself go for a number of years, and this is the result. Especially last year, it came back with a vengeance, and that's why I'm doing all this. That's why we're doing the diet change. Well, all of us need to unfluffy, but it's the main reason why I'm doing all this. So yesterday, for whatever reason, I wasn't the only one who was just bone dead tired. Everybody was. Right after lunch, we all collapsed, went back to sleep. We were all bone dead tired. Don't know why. Something must have been going on, because we are very sensitive to things that happen in the world. We were whenever something big and major is about to happen, we usually end up feeling it before it happens. That's true. It's happened consistently. Anyway. So we didn't go to Sam's Club yesterday. We've got to go today. Got to do some kind of shopping today. But we're low on a lot of stuff. Now, I've got enough to make some kind of lunch today, but we really need to do the shopping. And Tygra's been up all night. So he was working on a project. So about till like 1, I played more of Metro Exodus. Still a good game. I'm still in the first region in the train yard. I just got the passenger car. Just pulled that out. Killed a big catfish in the station too. Didn't even know what I was doing. I cut some lines that were holding up some bodies, and they went and fell in the water, and then this big catfish attacks me. Oh, I also pulled this thing and it drops a whole bunch of stuff. Then a catfish attacks me and dies. So apparently the whole cult thing that's in there, nothing really comes of running around messing with them, but they apparently worship those big catfish. The monsters I seem to be having the most problem with, that I keep running into the most, are those mutant people, mutant humans. Those pop up a lot. But a good headshot takes most of them down really quick. I've been trying to not have a lethal playthrough, trying to knock out as many as I can. There comes a point where, you know, you have to fight. You know, trying not to. I don't know how much just killing off enemies causes you to have the bad ending. I don't know. I know there's multiple endings to the game. I haven't even left the first area after leaving Moscow yet, so getting the teddy bear back for the little girl was quite an adventure. That was a long trek too. It's not, the game is not what you would call true open world. It's more semi-open, sort of like The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is semi-open world. It's got huge regions to explore, regions that are absolutely ginormous. And these regions that you can go through are pretty big. So it's like that. It's like the Witcher 3's. It's like semi-open, like Witcher 3. You know, where there are separate areas that you explore around, but they are all massive. And every time I turn around, there is something new to look at. And one clue to tell that there's something there to go see, when you're looking through the binoculars, you'll turn around and you will hear this little clicking noise as you're turning. And I thought, you know, that's just because you can zoom in. It makes a little gear like clicking noise when you zoom into stuff. And I thought, well, that's just the game mechanism. That's just the mechanism in the binoculars making noise, so I'm looking through it. But then I pan back and forth. While I'm looking at certain places, I hear that clicking. So I stop and I look towards a direction that I know is a destination where I have to go, and I turn towards that. Click, turn back, click, and I go back and over it a couple of times. Click, 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 and I go, ah! That is how the game subtly tells you that that's a destination, that that's a place that you can go. So when you look through the binoculars and you turn around and you hear that clicking noise as you're looking around, the clicking happens when the destination, a point of interest, is centered in the view of the binoculars. So when it's centered in the view of the binoculars, you'll hear a click. And that's how you know there is a destination to go see there. An interesting destination. And if you check your map, you might see a little circle with a question mark on it. Now, sometimes you will get those when there's like character dialogue. If you're listening into like bandits, if you're sneaking around a bandit camp and you're close enough to listen to what they're saying, you'll sometimes get a location update. There'll be a little icon that'll pop up in the upper left corner of the screen that will have an arrow pointing down. That'll indicate a location that you can go to. So the question mark might point to, like a bandit camp, which is basically this game's version of Raiders. A bandit camp or some other place, a point of interest, or where you can find resources and stuff. I found a lot. All my guns now have laser pointers, laser targeting, so I can for the most part pull off headshots without looking through the sights, without looking through the reflex sights. All my weapons have reflex sights. I put a scope on my pistol, which is silenced, and it's very good with a sniper stock on it. It's a very good sniper weapon. The keep forgetting the name. The Tazat. I keep forgetting the name of that thing. It's the air pressure weapon. I've got a lot of attachments on that now. That's a deadly one. That's a deadly gun. I've been taking out more stuff with that than anything else. And when I really need to get into it, I'll use my Kalash, which is also which also has a suppressor. So I know I can change parts on the fly from my backpack. That's a big plus. The only problem with the Kalash is you run out of ammo during a firefight a little too fast. With the air rifle, you can craft new ammo pretty easily. You can craft it from your backpack, and it's pretty lethal. I'm going to be releasing a video on my channel soon on the game. There's a bug with starting Metro Exodus. There's a bug with starting. The game just came out, so it definitely has some bugs, but they're going to be fixed, with updates and stuff. But one of the bugs is when you start the game, after the opening cinematics and the NVIDIA credits and everything, the game doesn't go to the main menu. It goes to a black screen, and then it just stops working from after that. And the hard drive just churns. Well, there's a fix for that, and I'm going to release a video on how to fix that. A lot of people have been running into that on PC. Even people who have PCs that can run this game really well. Incidentally, when I started this game and the way it set it up, it set me to ultra settings. I go, whoa. And my PC is somewhere between the minimum and suggested, recommended. It's somewhere in between there, and it still put me on ultra settings, and it looks really good. Looked really good. I get good frame rate. I barely get any kind of hitching or frame rate drops. You know, and I don't have a high-end machine. That's from having that 4 gigs of video memory with that new graphics card. I have needed that new graphics card for a while. That has changed a lot of things doing that. Has changed a lot of things. It has stopped the rainbow texture bug in Fallout 4. Has completely stopped it. I've played a lot of it after getting this new card, and although when I play it on the high settings and your ultra settings on Fallout 4, because it's not a very efficient engine to begin with, so I keep it a little bit lower than max. I could run it at max, but I keep it a little bit lower than max. My machine sounds like a 727. The fan goes full bore on the graphics card, but it's stable. Card isn't overheating, and frame rate's good. So again, I'm gonna have a video out this weekend about how to fix the starting to a black screen problem in Metro Exodus. May start doing a little more like that. A few more interesting things. I still haven't worked on cloning the professor. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's a subject that others have talked about, and you know, I started those videos because I was really ticked off. That sort of thing pisses me off a lot, that particular subject. But I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't know if I'm going to continue it or not. I don't know. But I am going to do some live streaming. Bobby Games 3, welcome back to the stream. This weekend, I think I'll do some live streaming on Metro Exodus. A lot of others are. I've got to do some more stuff for Gamers Bay. Okay. Yeah, I've got to do some more stuff for Gamers Bay. I got a few more videos for them lined up. Alrighty then. Just checking who's live. Yep, we're live. Okay, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Yeah, I've got stuff in line for Gamers Bay. An Old Gamer Plays episode of another Atari 2600 game. But the Gamers Bay channel is primarily retro gaming, though we do cover modern stuff. Another Old Gamer Plays. Metro Exodus will be the subject of the next Old Gamer Plays next. I'll play a little more of that game in order to make that episode. And I'll have to take some time to do some gameplay recording for that video. And I will be doing some streaming this weekend of it. I've been having fun playing it, just wandering around and exploring. I saw Yahtzee's review of the game. I think he was a little too critical of it. Because if you look at the trends in AAA game development, you know, 4A and CD Projekt Red are sort of giving the middle finger to the whole live services thing. You know, the whole every game must be multiplayer or have co-op. Every game must have microtransactions and stuff. They're giving the middle finger to that to the AAA industry, saying no. You know, or EA's whole pronunciation that single player is dead. Bull crap. Like, how many more of their how many more of EA's live service multiplayer games have to fail before they get the memo that they're not the do-all be-all end-all of making money in gaming? That you don't have to have microtransactions in everything in order to make money. I mean, look at what was that one game? Oh, I saw a video on it just yesterday. It's a pixel art game where it's sort of a little bit of Civilization, a little bit of Stardew Valley mixed up in one. It's a pixel art game. The guy had the guy that developed it, the studio that developed it. They are getting rid of their Patreon, and they're giving money back. And it's not because of any controversy. It's just because the game's making enough money without the need for the Patreon in order to keep his game company going. And so, you know, he's giving back a lot of money because they care. The guy gives a damn about his customers. So there's good in the gaming industry. There's some good out there, despite a lot of the bad. You know, there are game studios out there that actually give a damn about the people who buy their games. And then you've got companies like EA and Activision, and to a somewhat lesser extent Ubisoft. Ubisoft, they've been trying a little. They're not quite as bad as EA. EA is pretty bad, and Activision's getting worse when it comes to that sort of thing. And when Destiny stopped making adequate money for them, they dropped them like a bad habit. I'm interested to see what happens to Destiny 2 now without Activision in the mix. Without Activision affecting the development. Because you know they were. They were investing money into it. Although they didn't own Bungie, they still could tell them what to do because they were the publisher and they were giving them money, and that's how that works. They get to dictate terms. Now we will see what happens with Destiny 2 without Activision's influence. If Bungie can turn things around, if they can pull off a Warframe with Destiny 2 or a Destiny 3, if they can pull off a Warframe, that will be a damning indictment of the AAA gaming industry as it currently is. Because if they can pull off a Warframe, what I mean by that is they can take a game, they can take this game and they can make it incredibly popular and universally loved like Warframe is. They can take one of their games and just revitalize it. Sort of the way Square Enix took Final Fantasy 14, which was a failure at launch, tear it down, rebuild it, and make it 10 times better the second try. If they can do that, if Bungie can do that without a publisher, that will basically be a damning indictment of the whole thing that the AAA studios are currently doing. So I'm very interested in seeing what happens. Also, you know, CD Projekt Red, they've got Cyberpunk coming. They're going to be showing off Cyberpunk 2077 at E3 this year. So we're going to get to see more of the game. Don't know if it's going to launch this year. I'd prefer, although I do want to play it, I really want to play it. I really want to play it. We haven't had a really decent Cyberpunk game in a long time. But it'd be nice if it came out this year, but I would rather that they really released it when it was ready. Don't be tempted to launch the game in order to cash in, even though it's not done. That's what EA and Activision do. They'll ship an unfinished game to cash in on the money, you know, to cash in on the excitement, and then fix it afterwards. All that does is erode consumer confidence in the gaming industry, and that will just take us one step closer to another gaming crash, which I think is already taking place. I already believe that a crash is already taking place. It's a crash of the AAA studios, because we're seeing their games fail. We're seeing Anthem is failing. Battlefield, the latest Battlefield 5, that's already failed. We're starting to see some games over in the Activision side fail. We're seeing the stuff that's happening to Blizzard happening. So part of the problem with Anthem on the EA side, EA BioWare side, is EA's insistence that everything has to use the Frostbite engine, and Frostbite is not designed for the kind of game that Anthem is. It wasn't designed for the kind of game that, you know, Mass Effect Andromeda was. It wasn't designed for the kind of game that Dragon Age was. It's not designed for that. It is a single. Its a purpose was focused towards FPS games. Okay. Yeah. I'd probably break my back even attempting to do that. I haven't been able to bend like that in years. Used to do those kinds of bends in Taekwondo class years ago. Can't do that now. Got way too much here. Hello, kitty. Got the kitty cat over here. That's a good girl. Anyway, getting back to the subject I was on. I really do believe we're seeing a crash of the AAA space. We're seeing a crash in the EA space. EA was sort of saved by Apex Legends, which incidentally that was made using the Source engine. Same engine that was used for Dota 2 and Half-Life 2. Now Dota 2 now uses the Source engine 2, the newest one. There's always gotta be one of those guys. I'm petting the kitty. She's a good kitty. A spoiled kitty, but she's a good kitty. And it's a good kitty. I don't have a problem with them. I've had friends who were. I've never had a problem with them. I think they should be treated like everyone else. I myself am not gay, but I don't have a problem with them. It's a good girl. He's purring. Yeah, it's a good girl. You ready to get down? Because you're sort of making me... Fur is making me sweat more than I want to. It's like wearing a fur coat. At least it's not Foxy I'm holding. She is fuzzy. She would be like wearing a fur coat. She's a big cat too. She's a Maine Coon, so she's pretty large. So, yeah, I harp a lot on the big AAA companies because I grew up in the 80s, and so I know the kind of company EA used to be, the kind of company Activision used to be. Activision was born out of, that was basically back in the day on the Atari 2600. Atari was not giving developers credit for the games that they developed. They refused to credit the people who made the games. And so two guys left Atari and they went and formed Activision. And they put the developers, you know, first and foremost. You know, they had their pictures and their names on the back of the cartridges, on the back of the boxes that they have the games they made. And Electronic Arts was a company made by a bunch of gamers who loved the games and wanted to make really good games. So I know those two companies. I grew up with them on the Atari 2600 and on the Commodore 64. And their games were really good. They made good stuff back then. So I know what those companies were like back then, and now they're like soulless versions of their former selves today. because they sold their souls to Wall Street. They went corporate, and after that, they were focused on profits at any cost. The thing is, in the gaming industry, you cannot achieve what Wall Street wants, which is exponential growth. Constant growth. Wall Street wants constant growth in your profits, in your revenue. You can't get that. Why? Because unlike a lot of other industries, there is a peak to the number of people number of consumers. You know, gaming's become a lot more mainstream, so there's a lot more gamers now. But gaming has reached peak levels. We're not adding a lot of new people to the market. A lot of new consumers. Like every generation will add more. We'll add some new ones. And then some will drop off because some people stop playing games when they get older. Unlike, you know, some people like me who don't stop playing games when they get older because we like games. But there are some that do. That's fine. And there are some that don't. But the thing is, the number of people who actually play games remains somewhat consistent. There's not a lot of new consumers being added. And so the kind of exponential growth that Wall Street expects from these companies is not possible. And so to get around that fact, EA and Activision and a few others, to some extent Ubisoft, and a lot of mobile game companies, I'd say most mobile game companies, are getting around that problem by putting microtransactions in their shit and loot boxes. So they're getting around that problem by just charging consumers more. But they know that there is a peak audience. That they're not constantly growing a new audience. They'll get a spike in new people every generation, but then there'll be almost as many dropping off, not buying games, or they'll buy games for their kids, but they won't be the ones playing them. I hope I explained that adequately enough. So there are a lot of gamers, and gaming does make a lot of money, but not the kind of unrealistic amounts that Wall Street wants. Wall Street wants unrealistic amounts. You know, gaming still makes a shit ton of money. Makes more money than Hollywood. But still, what Hollywood is wanting, they're wanting more. I mean, what Wall Street is wanting, they're wanting more than that. You know. They're wanting way more than that, and they're not going to get it. And the way they are, if they're not getting what they want, they will just drop the company. They'll start selling off the stock, and the company's stock will drop. And that's what we saw happening with EA until Apex Legends came out. Apex Legends has the most non-EA-ified microtransaction system I've seen. Yeah, they've got loot boxes, but they're not exploitative. The microtransactions the game has are not exploitative. There's no pay to win, and they're totally optional. You don't even need them to play the game. Oh, but that's right. Before my train of thought was derailed by Optimum Swing 684. Before my train of thought was derailed there. Again, as I said, I don't have any problem with them. I've had several friends who were, and I didn't have an issue with them. You know, it's not one of those people that hates gays. I don't. You know, I think they should be treated fairly. I think, you know, they really do love each other. I think they should be allowed to get married. You know, I don't have an issue with people that are like that. I mean, there's a reason for them being that way, and you know, we should just stop being so concerned over what other people are doing and be more concerned with our own business and not worry about, you know, what other people are doing. It's like this whole thing of wanting to protect the sanctity of marriage and shit. It's like, you know, how many politicians have come out talking about that, you know, protecting the sanctity of marriage? How many politicians have cited that in their fight against gays? And then it turns out that they've been having an affair. So they're harping about the sanctity of marriage, yet they're screwing somebody else on the side. It's like, the same thing goes when a politician pulls the whole think of the children thing. I have learned to stop trusting politicians who pull that card. Why? Because they are using it in order to get what they want. They're using it to pull people's heartstrings to say, oh, he's trying to protect the kids, or she's trying to protect the kids. No, they're lying to you in order to get you to support their particular idea because they've got an agenda behind it. They've got an agenda. And I don't trust people that do that sort of thing. I don't. Absolutely don't. You know, same thing goes with politicians who want to fight, you know, who get on their high horse to fight child porn. How many of those have been caught, you know, banging kids? I think the word I'm looking for in this is projection. The harder they're fighting something, the more you can tell that they are projecting. Like the Russian collusion thing, where the left is fighting really hard with that. Well, then you look at Hillary Clinton with the whole Uranium One thing. It's like, oh, this is projection. They are the ones that are doing the crime, but they're projecting the blame onto someone else. That's what projection is. They're doing the crime, but they're accusing someone else of it in order to divert people's attention away from the things they're doing. Don't get me on my high horse. Don't get me on my soapbox. Just don't. Anyway, where the heck was I? Darn you darn you, you derailed my thoughts again. AAA Studios, blah 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 blah. Oh yeah. Anyway, with Anthem, a lot of the issues the game had, and I really do believe this, and I saw a video, I forget who did it, they talked about this also, and it makes a lot of sense, that EA's mandate that everybody use Frostbite. Frostbite's not geared for the kind of game that Anthem is, and so BioWare has had to focus a large portion of their development time and resources to making the Frostbite engine do what they needed to do. And they didn't spend enough time on everything else. And so you've got myriad bugs, and you've got lackluster endgame, and everything. And that's what happens. You know, if they had built the game using the Unreal Engine, Unreal 4, would have come out a lot better, because Unreal 4, yeah, it's originally focused towards first person, but Epic was smart. Epic was smart. They took the Unreal Engine and they modified it so that it's not so singularly focused on FPS games. Frostbite is. Frostbite is very singularly focused towards FPS games. Unreal Engine 4 isn't. It's not so singularly focused. So you can make other style games. You can make side-scrollers, you can make third-person adventures with it. And it also helps that they let you have access to the source code too, so you can modify it. You can really get the source code for the engine and modify it. Because you can either use blueprints, which is the snap together game logic that's built in, which sort of uses little building block functions that you can link together like a flowchart, and you can do some interesting stuff with that. It's not all that limited. You can't do a whole lot with it, but it is very interesting what you can do with it. And then you can tinker around with C++ and just do whatever the heck you want with it. So you can make an open world game with Unreal Engine 4. You can do that. And then there's Unity. And Unity is just a blank slate. You can do almost anything with Unity. Unity is less a development platform like Unreal Engine 4, and it is more a content assembly tool. You use other tools to build everything. You build all the assets, everything, for a game. And then you assemble it and script it with Unity. And you can do that with JavaScript or Mono, which is essentially C#. And it's really easy to use, which is why a lot of indie game developers use it. A whole lot of indie developers use Unity. And if you have more experience, you have experience in C++ and 3ds Max, C, C++, 3ds Max, and other high-end tools, then you toy around with Unreal Engine 4. And you can make some really detailed stuff with that. It's a very powerful engine, yet it can also produce some really good visuals without needing uber amounts of hardware. That is, unless you do what WB Games did and you load it up with, NVIDIA GameWorks binaries, which is what happened with Batman Arkham Knight. Case in point, don't use GameWorks. Unreal Engine 4 has effects features built in that basically do very much the same thing. You can even build your own technology for it to do what GameWorks does. GameWorks is just a shortcut. The problem is GameWorks is too much. Too much tessellation, too much lighting. It's even too much for NVIDIA's own cards. There were problems, things where even NVIDIA's own cards were having trouble using games with GameWorks. And they're binary, so you can't alter them. You don't have access to the source code. Unlike AMD's alternative to GameWorks, which is GPU Open, I believe. Yeah. And I don't know how much of a success the 2080 cards, the RTX cards have been, and we're only just now getting games that support the ray tracing features, and benchmarks have shown those aren't really, you know, it makes a difference visually with it, but there aren't a lot of games that support it yet. And there have been a lot of bugs and issues with it. Like Metro Exodus supports DLSS and ray tracing. And the game has issues with it. There have been crashes and other problems with it. How long have I been going? Oh. 32? Oh. My feet fall asleep when I'm in this thing. My feet fall asleep on this bike. Alright, time for the weights. We're gonna have lunch a little later today, like an hour later, so that'll give me time to get a nap before then. Before I need to start making lunch for everybody, because Tygra, he was up all night working on a project. I was up till like almost 2. Well, I wasn't up nearly as late as I was the other day. Well, let's get to the weights. Alright. This one's loose. Yep. Okay. There you go. No loose weights. Would be bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, tomorrow, stay tuned for tomorrow, because I do plan to do some live streaming tomorrow, most definitely. Be during the day, and there'll be notification if you were following me on Mixer or Twitch or YouTube. If you're following me, or you are subscribed to me on YouTube, you'll get a notification when I go live. I will also post on Facebook and Twitter. Restream automatically does that. When I go live, Restream automatically posts to Twitch. Twitter and Facebook when I go live. And I also post in Google Plus for now, and also Gamers Bay on MeWe. I'll post there when I start the live stream. It'll be sometime about you know what, I'm not gonna say a time, because if I schedule something will come up that'll get in the way. Almost every time I schedule something to do a live stream, boom, something happens. It's almost like clockwork. It's like the universe doesn't want me to make plans. Case in point, we keep making plans to go to Sam's Club, but we need to replenish our supplies here. We're really low. It's like we're going to be exhausting them today with lunch, or exhausting most of them with lunch, and it's like we really need to go shopping. And we were planning on doing it at Sam's Club because we can buy stuff in bulk, and we can buy stuff in bulk there. Just to try and keep our food expenses from going crazy, because eating healthy is expensive. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Oh. Arms are wore out now. All right. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, this is the portion where I talk about a very important subject, which is depression. The reason why I am in this shape is because I suffer from depression, and for a long time I let myself go. I didn't realize that I had depression until I watched Jerry Berg, aka Barnacles, talk about his depression, and I realized, hey, that sounds like me. That's the same issues I went through. It ruined a lot of my life, ruined my relationship with my wife, my family, and it got in the way of a lot of things. I've likely had it for a long time, and no one really knew, no one really understood. They always thought there was something wrong with me, or that I just didn't care. And in a lot of ways I didn't, because depression makes you stop caring about a lot of stuff. And I didn't for a long time. And I stopped taking care of myself the way I should. And so I am like this. So best thing to do with depression is don't hold it in. Talk to people. Find people that will listen to you. Find people who are open-minded. Or you can talk to, if you're in school, go to a school counselor. Go to a school counselor or a teacher that will listen to you, that will listen to your problems. The best thing to do would be a school counselor. If your parents are open-minded and they're not assholes, go to them. You can always talk to them. Always try and go to your parents first. Parents aren't always the most open-minded people to talk about these sort of things, so especially in this day and age, maybe it's best to talk to, a school counselor or a teacher or some other person, an authority in your life that you know, like a priest, preacher, rabbi, or cleric, whatever religion you're in. Talk to them, and they should be open-minded to help you and be able to get you through what you're going through. Should be able to help you get through what you're going through. The best thing to do is to not bottle up and talk about it, and that really helps. Talking about your problems really does help. Talking about how you feel really does help. Also, other things that helps is changes in diet. Be advised that getting off of processed sugars is a lot harder than it seems, because most everything has hidden sugar in it. It's hidden processed sugar, natural simple sugars like what's in fruit and stuff. That's fine. But processed cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup, which almost every soda has, is bad for you. And we've been getting off wheat because wheat can inhibit your body's ability to handle fat properly. And we're on the keto diet, which it's very high fat, but it's the good kind of fat. And we're not getting fat from it. Even though it's a high fat diet, we're not getting fat from it. We're actually losing weight because our body knows what to do with it. Our body knows how to make energy with it and flush out what we don't need. And it can do that because we're not consuming all this bad stuff. All the chemicals and everything you find in everything. We make almost everything from scratch. We make our sauces from scratch. We make our seasonings from regular herbs and spices. We don't buy anything pre-packaged. The only thing that we actually buy that is packaged that we can't make on our own is we buy beef and chicken broth. And there's one brand, single brand, that's out there that we've been able to find that doesn't contain either corn syrup or processed sugar. One brand. It's a Swanson brand. They use honey which is fine, because that's natural sugar. They use honey in place of sugar. Anyway, a change in diet, getting exercise. Exercise also helps you mentally and physically. That's why I'm doing this show, and also talking to great people like you, and all the encouraging words you have for me, and everything. Occasionally, we'll get some people on who are, yeah. Again, I have no issue with people who are gay. I don't hate them. I myself am not gay, but I have no issue with them. I think they should be treated like any other human being. They should be treated with they should all be treated with respect and not with hate. I think that's wrong. I'm not a social justice warrior by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I hate, absolutely loathe political correctness. I absolutely hate it. Why? Because I see it for what it is. It is intolerance disguising itself as tolerance. It is bigotry. It is bigotry disguising itself as a fight against bigotry. It's hate. I see it for what it is. I know what it is. And the fact that there are people who are being bullshitted into thinking it's not just pisses me off. The people who actually think that it's okay, that it is okay to hate on another race, and you think that that is right. Now, granted, and all this hate for white people. Granted, white people in the past have not been the best. I mean, there was slavery was a thing. Racism against black people was a thing. It was a real thing. There was segregation in the U.S. There were those problems, but that wasn't everyone. That wasn't all white people. That wasn't all men are not scumbags. These people act as if just because you're white, you're a scumbag. Just because you're a guy, you're a scumbag. And just because you're a white guy, you are the ultimate scumbag. No. No, that's complete bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. And I see through it. And the fact that other people can't. They can't see through it and see the hate, vitriol, and bigotry that it is, just completely baffles me. That they are that stupid. Don't get me started. And, you know, and the way people on the left are acting, especially out there in California, the whole California liberal attitude, you know, where they have to interject LGBT stuff into everything, or they have to project their feminism into everything, their twisted ideas of it. It's like, what they are doing, what they're doing is, they are completely destroying everything that the LGBT community has worked towards. They're destroying it. Everything that they've worked towards for getting, you know, equal rights and equal rights and everything in the law, they're utterly destroying that. They think they are working on equality, but they're not. They are utterly destroying all the efforts of people who have worked towards civil rights in that direction, for for women, fair pay, and discrimination and everything towards women and towards gays. They're destroying all the progress that's been made. If he were alive today, Martin Luther King Jr. would not be an SJW. He would be out there just haranguing them for the way they are acting. He would be haranguing them something fierce. Martin Luther King Jr. would be riding their ass hard in a loving way. That really came out wrong, didn't it? But he would do it. He was an incredibly eloquent speaker. He would do it in an incredibly elegant and reverent way that would just make their ears burn, and they would have no defense against it because he'd be right. God, I wish Martin Luther King Jr. were around today, because he would just slam these people kindly. He would slam them. He would be hard on them. He'd be really hard on them. They would hate him. Let me point this out here. Social justice warriors would absolutely hate Martin Luther King Jr. if he were alive today. They would despise him. If that doesn't open your eyes to what these people are, if that doesn't open your eyes, if that doesn't make you wake up and realize that these people are not good, or their I wouldn't say these people are not good, I would say more their ideology is not good, I don't know what will. Because they would absolutely hate Martin Luther King Jr. They would hate him. They would despise him. That should be more than a warning you need to know. Yeah, these people are full of bullshit. Anyway, don't get me on my soapbox. Again, my message at the end of the video is always about mental health with depression and everything. Anyway, if you like the stuff I do, give me a follow on Mixer. Follow me on Twitch. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Remember to hit the bell icon, because I occasionally actually do upload videos to there. And I'm hoping to do some live streaming this weekend. And also, I am partnered with Gamers Bay. That is another channel on YouTube, and I do some streaming for them, and I make videos. I make 2 videos a month for them. Make an episode of An Old Gamer Plays, which is primarily focused towards retro games, and Old Gamer Plays Next, which is towards more modern game titles. I am also an admin for their channel and community. Our community was on Google+. It was one of the earliest communities there on Google+, but now that it's shutting down, we've moved to MeWe. MeWe is a social network platform that values the privacy of their users. So they do not sell your data, they don't collect your data, they don't do telemetry, anything like that. And also, they don't censor you for wrongthink. They don't censor you for going against, like, on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. If you even show a hint of being somewhat conservative, or if you aren't following, or if you aren't towing the far left neoliberal party line, you're getting censored. If you are not agreeing with a certain, corporate agenda or far left agenda, you're getting censored on those platforms. If you speak out against them, even if you aren't a die-hard gun-toting conservative, which I'm not. I don't even consider me a conservative, yet I still support Trump because I think he's the better alternative than what we would have We'd be living in a Mad Max world right now if Clinton was elected. I do believe we would have had a nuclear war if Clinton was elected. But, yeah, it's kind of crazy today, Cramp Raccoon. It got kind of crazy. Good morning to you. Unfortunately, you're jumping on just as I'm about to get off. That sounded bad. Boy, there's been a lot of that this morning. Oh, there's been a lot of that this morning, and that just put me on my soapbox. You just missed me being on my soapbox about political correctness and how the LGBTQ, how the far left are just destroying the legacy of progress made by the LGBTQ community over the years for equal rights, feminists for equal rights, how they're just completely derailing all of that, and they are just using bigotry and hatred disguised as something else. And the fact that people are blind to what political correctness is, that they are completely blind to it, is completely baffling. That they believe hating white people, despising them, is going to make things better. Two wrongs don't make a right. I know that in the past, people who are white, not all white people, but people who were white, weren't exactly the best people. You know, discrimination was definitely a thing. Still is, to some extent. You know, we had our own apartheid, we had segregation. You know, we had slavery here in the US. That was a long time ago. We're making progress, but what these people are doing on the far left, they are destroying that progress. And they are trying to solve a problem with the same... They are trying to solve a problem with the same energy that created it. And Einstein had something to say about that. You can't solve a problem using the same energy that created it. And that's what they're trying to do, and they're not going to succeed. They're actually going to make things worse. They're making things worse for people who are legitimately working towards equal rights for, you know, gay, lesbian couples. They are, you know, hurting the progress being made by feminists, real feminists, not the man-hating misandrists that call themselves feminists today, but the real feminists who are working towards, you know, equal rights for women, where women here in the US have way more equal rights than they do in a lot of other countries. There are some countries where women, only until just recently, weren't even allowed to vote or even allowed to drive a car. Like in Saudi Arabia, I think it was last year in Saudi Arabia, women were allowed to drive a car for the very first time in, I think, ever. And there are still some countries where women aren't allowed to vote. And some countries where women are bought and sold as, are treated like possessions rather than human beings. Yet you've got people here thinking that they are being oppressed by men. They have no freaking clue what oppression is. None. Anyway, don't get me on my soapbox about that. Not on this show. It's like I don't want the negativity. Anyway, if you want to be a part of a gaming community that is free of trolls, free of drama, and on a social network that doesn't sell your data, come over to MeWe, come to the Gamers Bay community on MeWe. We're a great place. We are having to just basically start over from scratch because Google's being a bunch of meanies shutting down Google+, they won't fix their data leak problem. They'd rather kill the whole social network thing rather than fix it. They never figured, you know, the thing is, the reason why they're shutting down Google+ is because they never figured out a way to make money off of it. If you notice, a lot of the stuff that they shut down, it's because they were never able to figure out how to monetize it. And we could have given them lots of great ideas on how to monetize Google, Plus without making it the cesspool that Facebook is. But they were never able to figure out how. And so they had a data leak, and they're using that as an excuse to shut it down. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox, because I don't need to get worked up, not this early in the morning. I've been Mike TheZorch. Keep an eye out on my channels here on YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer for my live stream tomorrow of Metro Exodus. I really appreciate all you guys, including... what's his name? Oh, it already scrolled up. I can't see it. But even including him. Even including that guy. You know... I appreciate all of you guys who come on the stream and watch me and everything. Just sweat my butt off on my exercise bike. And use my weights. Everything. At some point I'm going to get that exerciser that straps to the chair with the resistance bands. I'm going to have that at some point soon. Maybe not this month, because I got to replace some hard drives. I've got to buy a bunch of hard drives, so I'm gonna have to look for good prices on those. But at some point I'll get that, and I'll add that to my repertoire, and that'll give me some more options for exercises. Again, my name is Mike TheZorch. Watch for my live stream tomorrow, and I'll see you guys. I will be back with Bike with Mike on Monday. Oh, see you then.